There's a specific kind of wealthy person that most people never talk about. Not the flashy kind, not the kind you see on Instagram with the yacht and the watch collection and the lifestyle that looks like a permanent vacation. A different kind. The kind who lives in a normal neighborhood, drives an unremarkable car, wears simple clothes, and whose home, if you walked into it, would feel almost quiet in its lack of excess. And yet, their net worth, their investment portfolio, I'm their actual financial position is extraordinary. These are wealthy minimalists, and they operate by a completely different set of rules than the culture around them. Rules that aren't about deprivation, rules that are about a very specific, very deliberate philosophy that the fewer things competing for your money, your attention, and your energy, the more powerful everything you do keep actually becomes. These are the 10 rules wealthy minimalists actually live by. And this is going to be a different kind of finance video. My name is Nikki, and welcome to Invest with Nikki, where we break down financial psychology, wealth building habits, and smarter money behavior in a way that actually makes sense for real life. If that sounds like your kind of channel, hit subscribe. All right, let's get into it. Rule number 1. Own nothing that doesn't earn its place in your life. This is the foundational philosophy, and everything else flows from it. Wealthy minimalists, apply a ruthless filter to every single thing they own. Does this genuinely serve my life in a meaningful way? Or is it just occupying space? Physical space, financial space, mental space. There's a man named Thomas, 43, runs a successful consulting firm, genuinely wealthy, who did a full audit of his home 3 years ago. Not a casual declutter, a real audit. He walked through every room and asked honestly, when did I last use this? Does this add real value to my life? Would I buy this again today knowing what I know? He got rid of nearly 40% of what he owned. Sold some, donated most. What happened next surprised him. He said the clarity was almost physical. Fewer things to manage, maintain, insure, store, think about. And the money he stopped spending on maintaining and replacing stuff he didn't really need, quietly redirected into investments, changed his financial trajectory more than any raise ever had. Wealthy minimalists don't just own less to save money. They own less because ownership has a hidden cost most people never calculate: the ongoing mental overhead of managing everything you possess. Rule number 2, eliminate any purchase driven by identity rather than genuine utility or joy. This is the one that requires the most honesty, because a significant portion of what most people spend money on isn't really about the thing itself. It's about what owning the thing communicates. The luxury car that signals success, the designer bag that signals taste, the premium gym in the upscale neighborhood that signals a certain kind of person, the latest phone model that signals you're current. None of these purchases are made purely on utility. They're made on identity. And wealthy minimalists, and this is crucial, have largely disconnected their identity from their possessions. They know who they are without the signals, so they simply don't make those purchases. Not because they can't afford them, because they've genuinely stopped needing them. Priya spent years buying things that telegraphed the version of herself she wanted to project. Designer pieces, premium everything, the right labels, and she wasn't broke doing it, but she wasn't building anything either. The shift happened when she asked honestly, am I buying this because it genuinely adds something to my life? Or am I buying it to manage how people perceive me? That question, applied consistently, transformed her spending almost overnight. Rule number 3, make the single deliberate decision never to finance a lifestyle, only assets. Wealthy minimalists have an almost allergic reaction to debt that funds consumption. Credit card debt for clothes, restaurants, vacations, electronics. This is financing a lifestyle, and it's something they simply don't do. But here's the nuance that separates this from generic frugality advice. They are often perfectly willing to take on debt that finances assets, a mortgage on a property that generates rental income, a business loan that funds a venture with clear return potential. Debt as a tool for asset acquisition looks completely different from debt as a crutch for lifestyle inflation. Sam made one foundational decision at 26. I will never borrow money to fund how I live, only to fund what I own that grows. That single line in the sand meant no financed cars, no revolving credit card balances, no buy now, pay later for things that would be worthless in a year. The result a decade later was a financial position with zero consumer debt and a growing portfolio of actual assets. The rule wasn't about being restrictive. It was about being precise about what debt is actually for. Rule number 4, practice one in, one out without exception. This is a specific operational rule that wealthy minimalists use to prevent the quiet accumulation that inflates life costs over time. The rule is simple. Before anything new comes into your life, something existing has to leave. New jacket means an old jacket goes. New piece of furniture means something existing gets sold or donated. New subscription means an existing one gets canceled. New commitment means an existing commitment gets evaluated. This isn't just about physical clutter, it's about financial and mental bandwidth. Everything you own, every service you subscribe to, every ongoing commitment you've made takes up space in your life that costs something. Wealthy minimalists manage that total load actively. They don't let it grow through passive accumulation. It's Jordan, who spent years accumulating without questioning, did a one in, one out audit, and discovered the process forced something unexpected. Most of the time, when required to give something up, to bring something new in, the new thing suddenly didn't seem worth it anymore. The friction of the rule revealed how many purchases were genuinely unnecessary. Rule number 5, ruthlessly protect your time from money leaks disguised as convenience. And here's a pattern wealthy minimalists have identified and consciously rejected. The modern economy is extraordinarily good at selling convenience in small, recurring, seemingly harmless chunks. Delivery fees, subscription tiers, premium upgrades, time-saving services that cost $15 here, $25 there, $40 somewhere else. Each one feels like a reasonable trade, a little money for a little time saved. But wealthy minimalists look at the aggregate. They look at the total monthly cost of all the convenience purchases combined and ask, am I actually getting proportional value from this total number? Or have I just quietly constructed an expensive infrastructure around laziness? This doesn't mean never using a delivery service. It means making those decisions intentionally and periodically, auditing whether the collective cost of your convenience spending is genuinely worth it, or whether it's just become automatic. Rule number 6, live in a home that serves your actual life, not the life you're performing. Warren Buffett famously still lives in the 5-bedroom house he bought in Omaha in 1958 for $31,500. That choice isn't poverty, it's philosophy. The home serves his actual life. He doesn't need more. Wealthy minimalists make housing decisions based on genuine need and genuine comfort, not on what the home communicates about their status. And this means actively resisting the cultural pressure to upgrade housing every time income increases. It means being honest about whether the extra space, the better neighborhood, the more impressive address is genuinely improving your daily life, or just quietly consuming thousands of dollars a year in exchange for a signal you've decided you don't need. Every dollar not spent on housing above genuine comfort is a dollar available to be deployed into something that compounds. That math, applied over a decade, is not trivial. Rule number 7, choose investments over upgrades every single time there's a choice to be made. This is where the minimalist philosophy directly connects to the wealth-building outcome. Whenever a wealthy minimalist frees up money through a deliberate downgrade, a canceled commitment, a resisted upgrade, That money has one destination. It goes into assets that grow, not a slightly nicer version of something they already had, not a reward purchase. Assets, index funds, real estate, a business, something that compounds. The minimalism isn't the end goal, it's the mechanism. The point of owning less, spending less on lifestyle, and eliminating the noise is specifically to generate a consistent, meaningful flow of capital into things that build wealth over time. Without this rule, minimalism is just austerity. With it, it's a wealth building engine. Rule number 8, never make a significant financial decision in an emotional state. Wealthy minimalists have a specific relationship with financial decisions made under emotional influence. They simply don't make them. Not when they're celebrating, not when they're stressed, not when they're bored, not when they're comparing themselves to someone else's visible lifestyle. Decisions made in emotional states, be even positive ones, almost universally involve spending money on things that provide short-term emotional relief at long-term financial cost. The celebratory splurge, the stress purchase, the revenge buy after a hard week. These feel justified in the moment and hollow almost immediately after. The rule is a waiting period, not a permanent no, just a delay long enough for the emotional charge to dissipate and the rational question to emerge: do I actually want this, or do I want to feel something right now? Rule number 9, build an identity completely independent of consumption. This might be the deepest rule on the list. Wealthy minimalists have done the internal work, whether consciously or not, of building a sense of self that doesn't depend on what they own, what they drive, where they live, or what brand is on their clothing. And that internal shift changes everything downstream. When your identity isn't tied to your possessions, the marketing loses its grip, the social comparison loses its sting, the pressure to upgrade to match the people around you simply doesn't land the same way. You can admire a beautiful car without needing to own it. You can appreciate a stunning home without feeling inadequate in your own. That psychological freedom is not just philosophically valuable. It is enormously financially valuable because the entire machinery of modern consumer spending is engineered to exploit identity insecurity. Wealthy minimalists have largely opted out of that machinery, not through discipline or white-knuckling it, shift through a genuine shift in what they've decided their life is actually about. Rule number 10, measure wealth in freedom, not in possessions. This is the rule that reframes all the others. Most people, consciously or not, measure their financial progress by the quality and quantity of what they own. Better stuff equals more success. But wealthy minimalists have a completely different metric. They measure wealth in options, in the ability to make choices on their own terms, the freedom to leave a job that isn't working, the freedom to take time off without financial panic, the freedom to help someone they love without checking a bank balance first, the freedom to make a bold decision, personally, professionally, creatively, from a position of security rather than desperation. And here's the thing, more stuff and more freedom almost always pull in opposite directions, because more stuff costs more money to acquire, more money to maintain, and more mental energy to manage. And all of that comes directly out of the resources that could otherwise be building the freedom you actually want. So when you pull all 10 of these rules together, what you get is a portrait of someone who has made a fundamental decision about what life is actually for. Not for the accumulation of things, not for the performance of success, but for the quiet, compounding, increasingly powerful experience of owning your own time and your own choices. That's what wealthy minimalism actually is, and it's available to almost anyone who is genuinely willing to examine what their money is currently doing versus what they actually want it to do. Here's what to do this week. Pick one thing you own that doesn't earn its place and sell it or donate it. Look at one purchase you're considering and ask honestly, Is this serving my life or my identity? Find one recurring cost that exists out of habit rather than genuine value and eliminate it. And take whatever you free up and move it somewhere that compounds. One step this week. The rules aren't complicated. The philosophy isn't difficult to understand. The only question is whether you're willing to be honest enough with yourself to actually apply them. Are you building a life of genuine freedom or just a more expensive version of the same autopilot? If this video shifted something for you, share it with someone who's been asking the right questions about money but hasn't found the right framework yet. Subscribe to Invest with Nikki for more content that goes this deep every single week. Hit the notification bell. And drop a comment below. I want to know which rule challenged your thinking the most. I read every single one. See you in the next one.